Okay, today's project, making a collapsible bush saw. Now, I basically started out with a piece of 1x6 maple. I think I paid $9 for it at Home Depot. Decent piece of wood. I chose maple for, I don't know, whatever reason. I like it. The whole idea is I'm going to have a collapsible bush saw, and I know you've seen them on the web, and there's a bunch of different companies that make them. I'm not going to bring up any particular name. I think it's a cool idea to be able to have a saw that you can take apart. And sorry about the glasses, sun's out. Just had a snowstorm. Just had a snowstorm and the sun is out today. It's about 9 degrees. Typical New Hampshire January, February day, whatever the hell month we're in. Anyway, as I guess before I get off on another tangent, where I like to have a saw out in the woods because I think it's a lot safer sometimes. Cutting up firewood, easier to use. Sometimes swinging an axe, as much as I love to use my axe, it can get you in trouble when you use it for things you shouldn't be using it for. So my answer to that is to have, you know, my little Laplander folding saw, of course, but if I want to cut like a 4 or 5 inch, you know, piece of eastern white pine or something for the fire, you know, that's a lot of work to cut with that little saw. I want to use that little saw for what it's intended for. So anyway, as I said, here's the start of the project. As you can see, it's just, I ripped that down to an inch and a half wide. It's 3/4 of an inch thick. And I'm not going to show you, I don't want to get into saw safety and tool safety and all that stuff. I don't want, you know, if you know how to use table saws, I mean, I've got a table saw here and a chop saw. I mean, if you know how to use tools and not hurt yourself, that's fine. But I'll just kind of show you the hand, you know, when I'm chiseling and stuff like that, just to keep it, you know, I don't know, keep it simple. Anyway, as I said, I ripped this down, so I'm going to cut the two end, the handle and the front piece now, and then I'll cut the beam later. But first of all, I'll do this, and then I'll get back to you. All right, let's get in out of that cold weather for a minute. This is the rough saw, or the rough, what it's going to look like. This is 24 inches long. I went with a 24-inch saw versus a 21-inch saw because I like, I think the longer the better, if you will. And I'm actually in the process of having a new bush pack made up by Sarge Feria, the Woodsman School, which I'm sure you're more than familiar with. And it's a bomber pack, but the pack specs are 24 inches high, so I can get up to a 24-inch item on the side of the pack. And ultimately I want to have my saw on one side and my axe on the other side, or both on the same side. But the bottom line is I can slide my saw all folded up down the side of that pack. So, and as I said, I went with a 24-inch just because I think it's that much better. But essentially it's going to look like this. Excuse the mess. I was doing some other projects. You can see I made a leather possibles pouch, if you will. The other, I tried to do a video on it, but I got interrupted, and anyway, that's what it came out like. My first one. I'm kind of proud of it, actually. But anyway, this is the main beam here. Essentially, it's going to sit like that, and this will be a mortise and tenon joint, is what they call it. I have no idea who's mortise and who's tenon, but anyway, that's what they call it. I'm not a woodworker, as you may well have guessed. It'll look like that, and that'll pop out, and these will fold down like this, essentially. And as you can see, the blade is sticking out, but what I'm going to have is a little slice. I'm going to rip this here, so there'll be a little trough, and it's going to fold up just like that. So that's how it's going to carry with my cord, because on the top, I'm sure you've seen these bush saws, but I can't imagine you haven't. I'm going to have a piece of cord, some sort of cord going across here to pull these two together to maintain tension with a wooden paddle that'll stop right there. So essentially it'll carry like this, like that. So that's what it's going to look like. And for this, I thought about it a lot, and the best thing I could come up with was well, first of all, I wanted it to be easily field repairable. So if you break the blade, which you're going to at some point, you can change the blade or fix it with as minimal amount of tools as possible, and I think that's really key for anything you're going to use remotely in the bush or camping or whatever. So what I did was I got some clevis pins that I'm going to end up cutting down. But this is going to go, there's going to be a hole. Obviously I got a slice here to slide the blade up in. So let's pretend this is inside the saw now. This will go down through there and hold it. Out the back I will have my washer, and I decided to go with a cotter pin versus a clevis pin. The reason being, from working around mechanical stuff my whole life, I realized that clevis pins fall out on a regular basis, and with a saw, you bump it, you do whatever, you're going to lose the clevis pin one way or the other. So I thought a cotter pin backed up with a washer would be a good way to go, and you'll be able to pull it out, put it in with, you know, a multi-tool. Worst case scenario, I suppose you could work it out of there with your knife if you had to. But if you carry a multi-tool, you know, you're going to be able to get this cotter pin out, pull the pin out, and essentially put in a new blade if you can acquire one, and make it, you know, make a field repair. So anyway. Okay, here on the end, I want this to be a tight fit. So I can't use my table saw because this is such a thin blade. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take a hacksaw and cut this part. So when this blade slides in, it'll make more sense when it's all together. When the blade slides in, that'll be a tighter fit and the blade won't be doing this shit. So to achieve that, I'm very carefully taking my hacksaw like this. This is going to take a while, so as you can see, I've got my island. I love my wife. Did I mention that? I love you, sweetheart. Converted the island into a woodworking bench. It looks like we got a bullseye first shot. You can see that. All said and done, the old clevis pin was just like that, and that side's done. Alright, I decided that I wanted to go up 6 inches high. No, sorry, 7 inches high. Reason being, that'll mean I can cut through a 7-inch log, which is pretty ambitious, but you never know. And I think it's important that the distance between the bottom of the beam, and I don't know if that's called a beam, but that's what I'm calling it, between the bottom of the beam and the beam in the saw, and the top of the saw, I think you want it the greater distance towards the blade. So I'm going to measure up 7 inches on both. Then what I have to do is determine, get this, you know, figure out where I want this, and then I'm going to have to measure from here to here, make sure these are perfectly straight. I'm going to add about a degree of angle for the tension, so when it tightens up it'll look straight. Well, I made the first cut for the beam with the table saw. That was kind of tricky. But I cut it a little fat, and what I want to do is take my knife and trim it down to where I want it, rather than cut too much off. That way I can just shave it in. you know, any way I wanted, or use my chisel or whatever. Just do the last of it just to get it where I want it. What I do is take a little bit at a time. Take a little bit at a time. I can trim this down to where I want it. Now, I gotta remind you, I am not a woodworker, I'm a mechanic. So, there are guys out there that could blow this out in no time. I respect them for that. But. Sorry I lost you, the GoPro died. I want to bring you up to a little speed here. That's my first, what the hell ever it is, where this goes down in. You can see getting there. I decided I'm going to shave down the male end of that thing just to, because I don't want to take any more wood out of here, and I'm afraid I'll weaken this, which I don't want to do, so I will trim a little bit more off here. And I'm doing everything with this little 1/4-inch chisel that I bought. And you can see that's what I've pulled out, but in any case, it's coming. Well, sorry, but the whole GoPro ran out of battery as usual, so I was unable to get some of it, but pretty much got this down to where I want it on both sides. It's just a little bit too tight. Of course, with wood, you know, it swells. And hold on a second. Ha! Voila. Well, as you can see, I got one hell of a mess to clean up, but essentially this goes in here, and put your clevis pin like that. And what this does is, say, carry it like that. Wasn't too bad. Let's stick on something easy. You don't have to force it. I'm not really putting a lot of pressure. Just let the saw do the work. Take your time. Right there. Yeah, you know. That's about a 4-inch piece of wood-ish. Here's what we're looking for. It's perfect firewood. As always, you make sure it's not a spring pole. And you don't want it to snap smack you. Not bad. About a 3-inch piece of pine. I'm going easy with it because I don't want to break it first time out. Well, you can see, not a huge piece of wood, but beautiful firewood, you know, a lot easier than the old Laplander. Well, it passed the field test. Pretty happy with it. Just show you how it breaks down. Again, probably familiar with this type of saw, but just hold this. Now be careful because this is spring loaded, not spring loaded, but it's got some tension on it. This is my little handle that I I cut another piece of that maple. You can see it's beveled, so it'll catch right there when it's loaded. So you take all the tension off it, pull out your beam. As I mentioned, I've got these, the blade is clevis pinned there, but I use cotter pins instead because I was afraid the clevis pins would fall out. Essentially, you put it away, you go like that, you go like that, and you take your tension cord, whatever you want to call this thing, and bring up some slack like that, wrap it around. You can kind of do one of these if you wish. Hold it. Just kind of jam it in there like that. But essentially what you got is a portable saw. Now my next project is to make a case for it. And ultimately it'll be down the side of my pack. But that's it. Yeah, I did make it 24 inches. Probably could have got by with a 21 inch, which seems to be what the commercial ones are. But, you know, I'm happy with it. I'm going to put it back together and just stretch this thing out. Put your beam in. Oh yeah, these are the little mortise and tenon, if you will, like that. Once it gets in there, pop this one like that. Once it's together, I'm sure you've seen these a million times, but make sure you're winding it the right way. Like this. And the tighter you wind it, I'm starting to get tension, so it holds the blade tight. Now the trick is you want to make sure that blade's good and tight, but you don't want to over tighten it, because what will happen is you'll break the blade. But once you get it tight enough, that's not really tight enough, but like that. This locks in like that. Then you can cut away. Voila. Took me a couple hours to build it. Nah, I'm lying. 3 hours. But I mean, whatever, on a Saturday afternoon, it's 9 degrees outside, it's too cold to go ice fishing, the wind's blowing like crazy. So, you know, for 20 bucks worth of materials, in 3 hours I got myself a saw. The alternative is to go on eBay or someplace and get one for 75 bucks plus shipping. But it's fun, you know, the reason you get into bushcraft and self-reliance in the first place is because you want to do things yourself. And when you can make your own tools, like this pouch I made the other night, this here, I don't know, I didn't do a video on it, I ended up getting called out to work and I came home, forgot to turn the camera on and finish the project, but little Possibles pouch, you can see it's got a flat bottom, again my first one, but now I got a saw and a pouch that I made myself with a little bit of effort. And it's a little more rewarding when you do it yourself. Anyway, good luck.